just felt like I felt a calling to get the message out there to people that I feel like aren't spoken for.
That is the voice of Jeffrey Steele, our guest on this week's edition of Conversations from Studio 5. He's a country singer and songwriter whose life story are the lyrics of a journey through humble beginnings, highs and lows, and he's penned them all in a song called A Voice. So before we get to your A Voice, let's talk about the music journey. Where did it all start for you? What happened?
Wow. Started in Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, of all places. My mom and dad met in Hollywood, and so I grew up in Hollywood in the late 60s and early 70s, the youngest of 5. So as a little kid, I already had music in me. It was just coming, bubbling out of me, and I would steal all my sisters and brothers' records and scratch them up and play them. And my dad's and mom's records, which were Elvis and Frank Sinatra and Duke Ellington and all kinds of swing and big band, and then everything from Motown to Memphis to just Detroit City rock and roll, the Beatles in British Invasion. I stole all the records and swallowed all of it. You know what I mean? And that was the beginning of my musical journey. And then I kind of self-taught myself to play guitar. And as I got older, my dad kept telling me to listen to country music. You need to listen to Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson. They're great songwriters. They're great lyricists. And so I finally did, like in my late teens, and I ended up in Bakersfield playing in the bars and honky tonks. And in there, I met some musicians that we got signed to a record deal out in California, and that brought me to Nashville for the first time in the 80s. Wow. And I kind of looked around and went, wow, just people kind of hanging out and writing songs. And I felt like that was something I could do. So I moved my whole family back.
Do you remember the first song you wrote?
That I ever wrote?
Yeah, at least the first song you ever wrote. And then you can tell me the first song that was a hit.
When I was 8 years old, I wrote a song called I'm Yours for probably some girl I had a crush on in elementary. Yeah. Yeah, it was called I'm Yours. And my dad kind of looked at my mom and went, this kid's 8 years old writing his own song. Let's go get him they got me like an electric, one of those plug-in organs, with all the buttons and stuff. Yeah. And it was the best present I ever got because it taught me music and started from there. I would always write songs, and I would always, like, when I was in high school, I'd show the girls my lyrics. I said, check out the song I wrote. Oh, it's so amazing, So I started to see,
Yeah,
where all that was going.
Power of music.
But anyway, that was my humble beginnings, and that's what slowly but surely got me to Nashville. After I got signed to a record deal, I moved here, and then my first hit song was a song called She'd Give Anything to Fall in Love, which was a hit for my band. And then the same year, David Foster recorded it on an artist by the name of Gerald Levert, who's the son of Eddie Levert of OJ's, and he had a #1 with it. So my first big thing was a pop #1 and a country #1 on my first, hit song. So I was like, oh, this is easy, you know what I mean? So this is going to be easy. But as I found out later, there'd be a lot of climbing and a lot of learning. But that was my introduction.
Is it harder when the iron strikes quick?
I think it is. I think, and in that respect, I mean, I was working in the bars for years and trying to figure stuff out and who I was and what I was doing and what I really wanted to do. But that initial big hit, the deal, like, okay, what have you done for me lately, right? What's your next one? What's the next one going to be? So I was in a band and we were trying to get that next big hit single, which we did. We got another one that followed it, but then that the repetition of that started changing my perspective, I think, of what I wanted to write about and what I was writing. And I felt like I was kind of being forced to put out a certain kind of a thing as opposed to what I really wanted to do, which I really didn't know what that was yet. But that was just my beginning journey of like what is a songwriter? What am I trying? Well, like, what is this gift? I know I have a gift for something here. What do I do? How do I chase it? What does God want me to do with it? That was the real question. And that was something I really didn't know about yet.
When did you realize what it was and what it is you wanted to do?
Crazy blessings. So after tons of touring and traveling with this band, you know, you're up every morning at 7, you're doing 3 radio interviews, and you're doing 2 shows at night, and then you're living crazy. I was living crazy, and the light was burning out, man. And I was getting worn out, and I started losing my voice, and which is metaphor for this whole journey I'm on with this song. I started losing my voice, and I went to the doctors, and they said, you know, I needed probably to get surgery. And I said, man, I don't want to get surgery if there's nothing really wrong with me. If it's just overuse, maybe there's another way I can. And they said, well, you really need the surgery if you really want to get back out there. I said, what's my alternative? And they gave me, I met this doctor that was a musician, and he said, I can retrain you, but you're going to have to take 2 years off. And you know, it's my moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? I got a family, I got 4 kids. He assured me that it would be worth the journey if I did it. And I prayed about it a lot, and I did it. And so that letting go of the microphone and becoming a full-time songwriter and really figuring what I was going to write about, who I was as a writer and as a creative guy, that's when that first entered. And it was the most tragic thing that could happen to me in my life, but it ended up being the biggest blessing because it forced me. I was able to sing, naturally sing. So it forced me to learn how to write as easily as I could sing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
To write a lyric as fluid as I could just sing it. And it taught me how to write a better lyric because I could sing pretty easily. So it didn't necessarily have to be a good lyric because I could sing pretty good and they'd say, oh, you sounds great, you know? So it started making me think like, you really got to take more time and get deeper into what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do. And it really sent me down a rabbit hole of trying to be the best lyricist I could be. And those 2 years, a huge blessing. And at the time, I couldn't have known that was like, I'm taking you down this path. And if you want to take this, it's going to be a nice side you end up on. It's going to be a great blessing on the other side of it. And so about 14 months into the journey is when I got my voice back.
Wow.
And I learned how to control it, and I could go out and sing 5, 6, 7 nights a week and not ruin it like I was before. And I changed my lifestyle, and yeah, so that was a lot.
No, I love it. I'm glad you shared that.
But it's a long road, you know. So yeah.
So tell me about A Voice, this project. What is it?
So guy comes into a room that I've written a bunch of hit songs with, Chris Wallen, and he wants to write a song with an older artist named Colin Ray, who's been around forever. Back in the 80s, he was a pretty big star, country star. And he said they were going to be cutting a record on him, and they wanted to write some songs. And I'm on the phone, and I'm sitting at my piano like I always am in my studio, and he goes, "Would you want to get together and write a song?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I love Colin Ray." I said, "What would we write?" He goes, "I don't know. You know, he's got such an amazing voice." And he said that, and I was like, yeah, he's got an amazing voice. And I just kept, that word voice was resonating. And I just started playing what became the chorus and started thinking about, wow, a voice. I wish I had a voice. And then I started thinking about the world right now that we're living in and how so many people are unspoken for and overlooked. And I think just downgraded by the media, like no one's being spoken for out there. That's how I feel, and that's what I see out there, and especially the kids in the world. And it just literally fell out within 30 minutes. They came over to the studio. I said, "Man, I think I've got a chorus. Come on over," and we wrote the rest of it. And then I played it for my kids, and they said, "Dad, you need to put this out. This is everything you talk about every night." I'm like, "No, I'm not the guy. You know, I give my songs to other people, you know." And they're like, "Yeah, you've been giving your voice to everybody else for all these years." So it's like, there's all these metaphors all over the place of this song. And so it's me like 40 years after beginning my career here in Nashville, almost 40 years. And putting out one for myself that really speaks to what I believe in and what I think's missing in the world, and it just felt like the right thing to do. So, yeah. So
How does that feel to have
It-
your voice?
Scary at first. I knew I'd get a little criticism. Not that I care, but just and I've raised my kids now, and I've been through a lot in my life, and a lot of people have too, right? And you're at a place where I don't need to go out and be famous. Perfectly happy, but I just felt like I felt a calling to get the message out there to people that I feel like aren't spoken for, and a time in the world right now when I think that everybody's looking for a voice. They're not really looking for the voice, I think, a lot of people, but I think by being a voice for others, standing up for others, standing beside others, behind others, in front of others, it's doing God's work. It's doing what God intends us to do with our abilities and our gifts as human beings. So all that stuff was playing in my head, and I was like, man, just go out and do this and say what you've always been saying for your whole life, and this is your time to do it.
You're often called a poet and a prophet. How does that feel?
That's a lot, It's a gift. All props go to God because it's a gift, and I don't know. Sometimes, I've written 10,000 songs, and I can write one in front of you right now. But on a certain day, when I'm tuned in, it comes through me, and I can't. It's the thing everybody talks about. You can't explain it, but it just happens, and that was what this song did. That's what a few other songs not every song, maybe a handful of songs I've written, but I just try to write what I see in the world and what I feel. I'm not telling anybody it's the way it is. It's just what I see. It's my take on what's I'm processing, and that played into this song quite a bit too. It really did.
It's beautiful that you say that, because I remember coming to Nashville and hearing that from another singer and songwriter. Exactly, Dolly Parton said the exact same.
Oh, wow,
thing.
wow. Dolly Parton is. I've walked with Dolly Parton through my career. I've got so many great stories about Dolly. But one of the high, is my dad's favorite singer.
Wow.
Yeah, and my dad passed away in '87, so he never got to see me chase the dreams and he wanted to be a songwriter. He saw it in me. He was a machinist. And he didn't want me to cut my fingers off, so he fired me. He wouldn't want me to work for him anymore. He goes, "You just go play that guitar." And I'm like, what do you mean? And so all these years later, here I am, and his favorite singer was Dolly Parton. And the year I wrote the song "What Hurts the Most," I was the songwriter of the year that year, and she was being inducted into the Hall of Fame as the icon of the year. So I got to stand on stage with her in that moment, and a song that I'd written for my dad. And that's life, man. And that's what I try to teach all these young kids I develop. It's all a circle. Life is a circle, and it always comes back around somehow. And that's what you need to write about. And so, poet and prophet. Yeah, I don't know. I try to write what I see, what I know, and the best I can.
How does it feel to be in the Hall of Fame?
It's amazing. It's when I went in, I think I was about 50 years old, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. No, I can't go in there now. It's like, I still got songs to write. Because at first you're thinking like, oh my God, this is the end of my career. What am I going to do? I don't have anything else I can do. All I could do is play a guitar. But it was a pretty high honor. And it's the main thing is it's your peers. The guys that you came up in town with and that you admired when you came into town. So to get that accolade from your friends and your peers it's a pretty neat thing. I'm pretty proud of that, and I'm still friends with most of these guys, and they're part of the reason why I'm in it. They helped me write some of these songs that got me in this place. So yeah, it's neat though.
So 7-time Grammy nominee, work with a lot of people. Just want to get your first reaction to a few when I say their names. Rascal Flatts.
We were just talking about it. They're my brothers. When I wrote their very first number one, I wrote a song called These Days. And I was telling the story about how I was with this composer from London, writing lyrics to his music for a pop group that he was producing. And, and I was a country lyricist. So they hooked me up with this guy. I don't know why they hooked me up with him, but they did. And I went, met him, listened to his music, and I wrote the lyrics to These Days. And it became their first number one song, became their sound. But more importantly, as a songwriter, it was one of those epiphanies where we were talking about, when I lost my voice and the moments when you find out who you are. It was the moment as a writer when I found out who I was and how I crafted my lyric, how I phrased how I alliterated my words, my bounce, so to speak, of the melodies and something I never knew before. And I tripped into it. I stumbled into it. And then it becomes the number one for Rascal Flatts. And they're knocking my door down going, we need more of those. We need more of those. I go, I don't know what I did. I just know that I stumbled onto something. I don't really know what I did, but it was me in some subconscious place finding something and then coming out of that place and going, what did I just do? You come out and go, wait, what did I just do? And then that turned into, What Hurts the Most and My Wish, and it became their sound. And that happened to me with a lot of different acts over my career where I was able to create like a little bit of a nick in the genre or you know what I mean? Like it's just a different little road for the music to go down that had been going down a certain way all these years. And it opened up the door for a lot of acts to have careers.
Love it. Montgomery Gentry.
And that's another one. That was at a time in the late 90s, started singing again, I got my voice back, and I'm writing like crazy, but I'm getting rejected. Everybody's rejecting me, and they're telling me that man, this just isn't what's happening. This isn't you need to go listen to the radio. And they at that time everything was on a cassette tape, and they'd throw the cassette back at me and laugh me out of the room.
Wow.
And these songs I was a real big rock and roll fan, Southern rock fan, but I always loved the country lyrics. So I was trying to get that into a thing. And I feel like I was playing it out in the club, and the girls were dancing and screaming and loving the songs and singing along. And I'd go into the record company and they'd say, man, this just isn't what's on the radio right now. I go, I don't know, man. I'm down in the club and people seem to be, and I know what I'm seeing and hearing. And again, pertains to this new song, same reaction. But, and then I met Troy and Eddie. And first thing Troy said to me, how come you never pitched me any of those songs? I could sing as high as you, because I have a pretty rangy voice. And I said, I didn't know you guys, I didn't know you. I had no idea. I said, but I've got like a warehouse full of these songs that have been rejected for the last 10 years. And sure enough, it was another thing where Eddie sang the low part, Troy sang the high part. And like my voice was pretty rangy, and I all of a sudden had this truck going down the road that could carry my songs, my melodies, and that's how that happened. And pretty soon, and I've always been writing songs that were very American, very very faith-based and very country-based, and the lyric was just representing those times in America. It was right after 9/11, a lot of that stuff. And all those songs just landed with them. It was just one of those, crossroads hit at the right time. And we became fast friends. They ended up getting me as the producer because they knew they were going to get all the songs. And so I have so many crazy stories about the songs, but I wrote a song called Me and My Gang for Rascal Flatts that they had a big hit on, but I actually wrote it for Montgomery Gentry. I was going to be the producer, so I wrote them the song. And Dan Huff, big record producer in Nashville, said, man, I got to have this song for Rascal Flatts. I said, they're not, they don't sing these kind of songs. This thing's like Southern rock. It's not their type of song. He goes, I'm telling you, I'll make it a hit if you let me have it. And Dan was always a big champion of mine in the early days when I was getting rejected. So I gave him the song, and I said, man, I got to write a song. I got to come up with a song for Montgomery Gentry as the producer now. And I wrote a song called Something to Be Proud of, which ended up being one of their biggest hits. So all these journeys, you know what I mean? Like they've all of the blessings that I've had writing these songs have just come out of a lot of rejection and a lot of waiting and hoping and wanting to give up. There's times when we just go, man, maybe this just isn't my gig. Maybe, but when they showed up, man, it couldn't have been more on time, because I was at that point of like, man, I just don't think anybody's ever gonna like these songs.
Wow.
And next thing I know, I'm a genius.
Two more real quick for you. Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw, I mean, it's a great day. I had the first verse and the title of The Cowboy and Me, and got together with Craig Wiseman, a buddy of mine, and Big Al Anderson, and I played it for him, and everybody went, whoa, that's, oh my God. And that song, it just came from the sky. And when Tim recorded it, it was kind of a throwaway last minute song he recorded, and the album was called Set the Circus Down, one of his biggest albums, and he had already had 4 gigantic #1 singles, and they were going to get ready to record the new album, and they said, well, let's just put out a 5th single just to kind of transition to the next album while we're waiting. And they put out my song Cowboy and Me, and it ended up being one of the biggest songs of my career. And it might not have got out there, but it's been recorded about 10 times since. And it's, again, it was a song about me looking in the mirror and who I was and what I was not happy with. You know, we all have, we all kind of just go, who am I? What am I doing? And what am I trying to get to? And that was one of those songs that kind of personified where I was at that time in my life. And so I just saw Tim. I sang the national anthem for the National Rodeo Finals, and Tim was there in the audience, and we got to hug each other. And I hadn't seen him in a few years, and it was really cool.
Aaron Lewis.
Aaron and I met. He didn't realize that I was the guy that wrote What Hurts the Most. I did a writer's round with him one night at some event, and he heard me sing it, and he goes, "You wrote that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I want to write with you." He goes, "I want to record that song too." So he did a version of What Hurts the Most. And when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I had him sing that song, and he just absolutely nailed it. But we became fast friends and started writing, and he was going down a road politically where he couldn't get any traction on the radio stations. He was taking a hard stance with what he was trying to sing about. And he came to me one day and he said he wanted to write a song for his fans. He goes, "I'm not trying to get on the radio. They won't play me anymore. I want to write a song for my fans. My fans love America. They love God and they love America. And I think they're all sick of what they're seeing happening to our country right now." And we were sitting there in his house, and he had like 3, like Elvis had back in the day. He had like 3 TVs going with all the news channels, like just going out of his mind, watching all the. And I walked outside. I was trying to think. We were in the middle of a so-so song. Wasn't that right? I didn't think it was that great. Me and him and Ira Dean, and it wasn't that great of a song. And and you're kind of rubbing your neck on this song's not that good. I don't think it's going to really amount. And so I walked out into his backyard, and I opened, I got all my stuff on my phone, and I'm scrolling my phone. I'm like, man, well, he wants to write a song for his fans. Wants to write and then I came past his title. It said, "Am I the Only One?" And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who feels like? Am I the only one who thinks? Am I the only one who's looking around going, am I the only one? And I walked in and I said that to him. I said, "Hey man, I got this thing, and what do you think of this?" And his eyes just lit up, and we stopped the, I can't even tell you what that song was called. I don't even remember. But I remember it was his girlfriend's birthday. And with the three of us, we almost got through the whole thing, and we were trying to get to the bridge. What was the bridge going to be? And his girlfriend, it was her birthday, and she was all dolled up and ready to go out to dinner. And she's just tapping her foot, and we have a reservation, Aaron. We got to get this bridge done. It's really 2 more lines and we'll be done. And we sat there for like another probably hour and a half, and he was late for the, he got in a lot of trouble that night, but it paid off. And then he went out with the song, brand new song. He hadn't learned it yet. He was scrolling it on, or I think he had the lyrics typed and had them on his bar stool. And he sang it to his crowd that night, like reading the lyric off the bar stool, and the whole place was on its feet singing. And I looked over at Ira. I was with Ira Dean, and I looked at him and said, wow, we don't see this very often. This doesn't happen very often where people catch on that fast. And we knew we had something big. Yeah.
I love it. Last question for you. Looking at your catalog, what do you think is the biggest hit thus far?
I don't know. There's been a few. My Wish, probably still one of the most played. And What Hurts the Most, those two are pretty big. But Cowboy and Me, and Knee Deep, song I wrote for Zach Brown. And then Am I the Only One for Aaron has been very big. And there's about 8 or 9 that kind of still floating around. They still get. I just got a Tejano version of What Hurts the Most, and it's like what hurts the most. It's like that, really fast. And I'm always baffled and honored, like wow, I never heard it like that. Never heard it that way. But Bring It On. Yeah, so those are some of the biggest. But it's what I love to do. I'm always just trying to figure out what the next one is, and trying to write the truth. That's all I'm trying to do.
Any artists you're hoping to work with?
Oh man, I love Jelly Roll. I love what Jelly Roll's doing.
Nice.
Oh gosh, there's too many to name, but I just love what he's doing right now. I love what he's speaking, and I love what he's and I loved his Grammy speech, and he's been a part of my charity that I do we're getting ready to do my charity March 2nd at the Franklin Theater, Jeffrey Steele and Friends. He's done it a couple times, and it just brought the house down. I just love, he's taken me into some of the prisons that he goes and speaks in the prisons. He's taken me in with some of these kids that are 17-year-old, being tried for murder. And we go in and we work with them and write songs with them and talk to them. And so he's one of my favorites. He'd be one for sure.
For more on Jeffrey Steele's music, simply go to his website, jeffreysteele.com. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's edition of Conversations from Studio 5. We appreciate you making this your destination for weekly interviews with a strong focus on faith. For more on Studio 5, our interviews and lifestyle as well as entertainment, be sure to visit our YouTube page. You can do that by searching Studio 5 with Efrem Graham. Look forward to seeing you right here again next week on the podcast.